Welcome. In this session, we'll be discussing about future directions in land governance. So I think a small session like this will not be sufficient to discuss future direction. So I would like to, provide some analysis of how India's land governance has moved so far, and given the imperative, particularly around climate action and climate change, how it can be more climate resilient. So the scope may be defined and limited to this context. So essentially, we are not going to discuss about all dimensions of future land governance. So if you look at the present land governance, or the which is mostly in India, when you look at land governance, we limit it to the land administrations. That is the how state is taking measures to administer and govern the land. So then we see increasingly it is more aligned towards economic growth, and particularly with ambition to expand the land market, improve economic growth outcomes. For example, real estate, industrialization, urbanization, agriculture productivity, and also renewable energy and climate ambitions. Putting land under how land can be put in more competitive use, how land transactions will be more efficient, transparent, leading to more tax and income from the state. In the present paradigm, there is limited attention to community well-being, and also we say the present land administration is not so much aligned to the local context of global south, where the land tenure contests are more complex, more informal, embedded in tenure continuum, and at the same time they also look land beyond economics. It is more socio-cultural, more political. They are also present land administration paradigms and patterns and processes are also less aligned with the socio-ecological system realities, particularly the way land value is being linked to now carbon, biodiversity, watershed services, natural resources getting fast commodified. Land value will change, but the present land valuation and land market is more aligned with biophysical, locational dimension of land. Overall, we see a very uncleared and preparedness towards climate action and resilience when you look at the present land administration. So, the way India's land administration and governance has evolved, it has been, I think, pretty dynamic. It has been changing gears. If you look at colonial land administration, it was more around improving revenue generation, because as in some other class I was discussing, from East India Company, almost 40 to 50% of revenue was coming from land revenue till 1857, till the Sipa Mutiny. So their focus was more around making land more productive for agriculture, because agriculture land was giving revenue, surveying land and settling tax around those land, and they were more interested for reform rather than continuing a political equilibrium with the intermediaries like jamindars and mahalwar systems, where the intermediaries were providing them some kind of support system to maintain peace and order, so that they continue to get the revenue. So they are not much aligned to challenge the social injustice. 60 post-independent, the whole reform agenda was around social justice, redistribution of land, jamindari abolition, land ceiling, and land to the tillers, where tenants and others were to be given the land. But due to political resistance, despite all the efforts, it remains unfinished. And in 1990, when the neo-liberalization started, individualization, liberalization, market, globalization became the buzzword, the movement in land administration moved towards land titling reform, more land record reform, which is more towards conclusive titling, developing digital land records. But in 2000, again, around 2005, when this UPA government was particularly in power, coalition government compulsions try to bring in more socially justice agenda again into fore. For example, where we have this gender equity concern coming in through amendment to Hindu Succession Act, giving daughter the co-parental rights, forest and tribal right through Forest Right Act, land acquisition, resettlement, rehabilitation for fair compensation in 2013, and also this Model Land Leasing Act in 2016. So all these were in 2000, post 2000 was again social aspiration coming back. But presently, as we see, if you look at last 4 5 years, the focus is more towards again land record reform, land market reform, digitization of land records, looking at drone surveys, looking at use of satellite imageries, AIs. We are stuck here. So now, if we are looking at future, where we are looking at SDGs, we are looking at net zero, how should we gear up? I think that is what is going to decide how the future direction will be there in future. So in the present context, what we see, the whole dynamics is around, can we formalize land records, either creating new records, for example, the projects like Swamitva, programs like Swamitva, where doing drone survey to create land records for Abadi areas, or updating land records through Digital India's land records program and making land records more digital, more fungible, more interoperable for land markets, for agriculture productivity through AgriStack, for different real estate development. So here the whole premise is that digitize the land record, use technology, give a conclusive titling, try to see that whatever the land records are, they're accurate, they're reflecting the ground situation, they're updated, and this will lead to more tenure security, more economic growth. So this is a very linear argument which often doesn't work in context, socio-culturally complex context, politically complex context like India. So the digitization could be one way of looking at the solution, but it cannot be the only way. So it is not like my way or highway, the kind of thing. So if you look at this digitized approach, if you analyze what has happened so far, this whole approach of conclusive titling, where all land records are updated, digital, which can really address land market, we can say only 4-5% of records will reflect that. Because while India has about 350, roughly, we don't have any right figure available because it is state subject, every state maintain the land record, but if we pull together, maybe around 330 to 350 million land records. So out of that land records, we find 95 to 97% are computerized, like digitized, like the record, the textual record. 70% of the maps have been digitized, the spatial record, but not updated. Only 4 to 5% of the land records have been resurveyed to updated. So given that scenario, only 4 to 5% of land records are in a position where all these assumptions of linearity, that with digitization, technology things, interoperability, will be able to address land market goals. So only that. But if you look at other land records going down, it could be legal but not synced. Like it could be legal record, father's name is still there, map is not subdivided. So this is, which is the majority of cases, will not be applicable for the ideal land market situation. There are a lot of records which are legal but not digitized, like Indian Forest Right Act, IFR records. A lot of records are being created but not all digitized. There are a lot of records which are legal but not completely documented. For example, this women continue to own land in India, but their name is not added to land record. Customary tenure regime in Northeast in more than 10 million hectares of land, which are legal but not documented. Then a lot of other records like tenants' rights, which are like 30% of farmers in India are tenants, but their rights are quasi-legal and not documented. So looking at that, we see it is a pyramid. Only top 5% land records are better in a way. All investment going, like all the digitization investment, all the money, all the focus of land admin department is towards that. But that is creating only 5 to 10% of records which can address those aspirations. or 90% of the land ownership or land relations remaining in a scenario which cannot fulfill that ambition. So we are here. And even when we update the records, we see there is an inertia to maintaining it, because you update the record today, but tomorrow maybe the son is not willing to transfer the record in their name, they don't want to divide. So there are situations, inertia, because of transaction cost, because of other issues, they are not. So whatever is formalized today may become informal tomorrow. So that is going on, that complexity is. Similarly, if you look at the geopolitical realities, the legal pluralism in India, the presumptive titling system, so all these things make a very complex scenario where pure formalized record system, centralized record system, where we try to centralize at state level, national level, is increasingly difficult to work in future. So the question is, remain, can formalization address the only way to tenure security and address all the tenure security aspirations? Is just in reforming records, improving technology approaches, and bringing in the solutions to improve technology, private sector participation, centralized registry is going to be the only reform agenda. Who is gaining, who is losing from this scenario? If you look at, the losers are many: women, tribals, Dalits, tenant farmers, slum dwellers, pastoralists. Winners are very few: urban dwellers, or the people who are ability to improve the land record, correct the land record, or the gainers are the actors in the process, geospatial actor, private sector. So given this scenario, we see that we need to devise something which is different if you really want to address the aspirations of the communities, real situation on the ground. This particular simple recipe, where we are looking at a little bit of legal reform, little bit of technology innovation, little bit of institutional restructuring, may not going to work in long term. Rather than working, they are also generating a lot of risks. We see that in many cases, tenant farmers, women farmers not getting benefit of the direct benefit transfer which AgriStack is trying to do. We are seeing that many of the people, housing aspirations of many communities are not being fulfilled because they are unable to access the formal housing loans. We see the aspirations toward industrialization and real estate, renewable energy transformation is stuck with lot of land conflicts. So neither the corporate nor the communities are winning through this kind of solutions. And at the same time, we see that with low awareness and participation of the communities in the process, the record that is being created are also not reflecting the ground situation. And at the same time, for the local communities and tribal communities, when land record become more legible and visible, we see a visibility risk of their land being taken by the rich and powerful. So there are a lot of, in Jharkhand, in other places, where tribal land has been taken by non-tribal people by manipulating the land records. So this is the scenario where we find this process of formalization, digitization working. On the other hand, we also see there are many local solutions, like in the northeast, the way village council is addressing the issues. We see most of the indigenous people, local communities globally, the way they are conserving forest, taking care of their own landscape in a more socio-ecological integrated approach. We find, unlike this centralized technology focused solutions which may work for land market in certain geographies, larger geographies, these localized solutions, local institutions, local decentralized land record management is working. Even in, you go to US, land records are maintained at the county level. They are not maintained at the state or the country level. So given that scenario, we also see there are other approaches where tenure security is obtained through the principle of legal geography, through credibility, local land relations, like the tenancy, which is not formal, which is not legal, but still continue to be practiced by the communities to access agricultural land in a very complex land market and continue to produce food and agriculture surplus. Similarly, political theory of access, where we see that in the slums while the rights are not given, but still there are transactions takes place between slum dwellers. So there are a lot of other theoretical approaches. We also talk about how tenure security can be obtained without this formalization, digitization, and technological approach. And in most of the cases, we see these solutions are very local, decentralized approaches. So given that context, and given the way natural climate solutions are demanding more and more land for new land use change, like use of renewable energy, the land, like in India, almost 10% of land will be required for renewable energy aspirations. Globally, 1 billion hectares of land required for natural climate solution. So now, as we increasingly require more land for different aspirations, earlier land was required for industrialization or urbanization or agriculture. Now we are looking at land for climate solutions. So as these things change, we have to probably look at some solutions where we see this multi-dimensional requirement, which is not only purely economic but also social and cultural and ecological, can be addressed. In India, we are seeing Forest Right Act bringing in those kind of system in local communities, in the tribal villages. In Northeast, the village councils are providing those kind of solutions. In global North also, countries like US and others where it's a county level systems. So maybe in future we have to look at a very multi-dimensional mode of land governance, which will be not exactly centralized. They can use technology, but not to the extent digitized advanced technology, but they create more decentralized registries. They manage it local level, and they try to address land relations not only through formalization pathway, but through other pathways of the principle of legal geography, credibility thesis, psychological ownership, and also political theory of access. I think those kind of systems we need to look at, which can provide new ways of looking at land administration and providing more localized, flexible, and decentralized solutions. I hope I've been able to give you a kind of teaser to see how future of land governance will be. While there are a lot of debates and discussions around that, and a lot of new ways are emerging. For example, globally, you are looking at different approaches like fit for purpose land administration, effective land administration. Similarly, in that way, how climate resilient land administration can be brought in through a more local, decentralized approach can be one way to look forward. And hope you will be able to think more about that, do more research about around that, and discuss how land governance can be better in future. Thank you very much.